At Karl Price to WHAS 11. He's a former Jefferson County prosecutor, now a defense attorney, the Karl Price Law Office. And Karl has been joining us since 2020 discussing issues related to the Breonna Taylor case. Thank you again for coming in, Karl. And so the big question is, he was acquitted on the wanton endangerment charges. Now he's going to be tried again. This is civil rights charges. How can that happen? Explain the difference to us.
Yeah, Doug, it's very simple for us lawyers. We call it dual sovereignty doctrine, okay? And I'll break that down. Dual means two, sovereignty means jurisdiction, a location, Kentucky, or the federal government, and doctrine is just another way of saying law. So what has happened here is that we all have taken constitutional law courses, and we all know about the Bill of Rights and the Fifth Amendment to the Constitution that says double jeopardy prohibits you from using this conduct and trying an individual twice. But unfortunately, under the dual sovereignty doctrine in America, that can happen because the federal government basically is charging Brett Hankinson with different offenses than he was charged in the state court. So in the state court, he had 3 counts of wanton endangerment. In the federal indictment, there are a number of civil rights violations involving Kenny Walker, Breonna Taylor, as well as their neighbors.
Well, let's go through that. And like you said, you mentioned Kenny Walker, the 3 neighbors, including a pregnant woman and a 5-year-old child. Explain civil rights violations in this case with regard to what happened versus wanton endangerment. What is he facing here?
So, first of all, he's facing life imprisonment, and when you look at the statute, 18 U.S.C., the United States Code 42, it really suggests that this may be a charge that is appropriate for the death penalty as well. But I don't think that the prosecutors are going there. So the difference here is that we all enjoy these constitutional rights, and the law recognizes them as civil rights, and there can never be any deprivation of those civil rights. But when there is a deprivation of those civil rights by an individual who is acting under the quote-unquote color of law, i.e. a uniformed individual, a police officer, those rights can be redressed, either civilly and sometimes criminally, under this particular statute, 18 U.S.C. 42.
You've been
242,
around, you've been around a long time with jurors. You've interviewed the jurors like they're doing over in federal court now. You saw that he was acquitted on wanton endangerment charges. Is it very hard to convict a police officer in this area of Kentuckiana? And what do you expect the outcome of this to be if you had to look ahead?
First of all, it is somewhat difficult to convict police officers in this area. So you start with that. The outcome here is, to me, maybe a little uncertain. I think what a lot of individuals need to understand is that the federal government is pretty good about their criminal prosecutions. They have a 90+ conviction rate. So generally, they do not bring charges they don't believe that they can make. However, the interesting thing about the indictment is that the indictment talks about the use of a dangerous weapon and an attempt to kill. And that is going to be the interesting part in this trial for the prosecutors, for the federal prosecutors, to actually try to prove, or actually prove, the fact that Detective Hankinson actually was attempting to kill someone, particularly the 3 neighbors, which I think we can all probably reasonably conclude probably not. But then there's a question of whether he was trying to kill the individual that he thought was shooting outside to the police officers, and it actually shot Sergeant Mattingly. So it's going to be an interesting trial, and whether we get there is a whole nother question.
And again, there's selecting the jury. We don't know when the jury will be seated and the trial will start. Karl, thank you for coming in. Appreciate your perspective.
You're welcome. Thank you for having me.
We'll bring you again as the details come in, as you broke down that indictment for us. Thank you so much, Karl Price here in Louisville. Now.